There's an ad going on behind me, isn't there? Hey y'all, my name is Nat. I hope you're having a terrific day today. And for this video, we are going to be doing a book haul and unhaul. All right, before I get into anything bookish, as per usual, make sure to hit like and subscribe down below, as well as tell me in the comments, what book did you recently buy? Okay, so this is a new setup. Hopefully it works out. I'm very hopeful. Secondly, this is gonna be a really big book haul, bigger than I was anticipating. But you know, let's start out controversial and dive into the unhaul part first. So there are a few books that I have actually already gotten rid of in this quarter, sold them whenever I was moving, or I gave them to friends. So I don't have those anymore to show you, but they did leave my shelves. First up was Kingdom of Souls, as well as Reaper of Souls by Brenna Barron. Unfortunately, when I ended up DNFing the third book, just having these two on my shelves just made me sad. A uncompleted fantasy series is it's just a letdown. If it was a romance series, that'd be a little different, but after the last one was just not it, I had to get rid of these. I ended up unhauling them whenever I moved. Next up was Nothing to See Here by Kevin Wilson, which was not one I got rid of for a bad thing. I actually gave it to my friend Kat. This is one of the books that my friends and I annotated, so it was Kat's turn. Whenever she came to visit me, I just gave it to her to take with. I also unhauled Batman Beyond, Batgirl Beyond, which was a comic bind-up I had read. This is another one I sold whenever I moved. Unfortunately, this one was a letdown just because half of the stories in there didn't even really relate to Batgirl, and then the one we did have, if I remember correctly, was I didn't particularly enjoy it, so I decided to get rid of that one. As for the actual stack of books I'm gonna be unhauling, as I said, we're gonna be a little controversial. First up, City of Brass by 𝗖cie his𝘁𝘁. I attempted to read this. I got 200 pages in and ended up DNFing, unfortunately. This just wasn't working for me. I was not attached to the characters at all. The world was very interesting, but I was still kind of confused about it. And then the political plot that was being set up, I thought was intriguing. I did have some difficulty following it as well, but once I figured out what was taking place, I could assume exactly where the plot was going to go. And with that, I knew I would need to care about the characters, and I didn't. I felt nothing for them. Something happened that actively annoyed me, and I finally just gave up and put this down. No one is as upset about this as I am, so please don't leave me any hate comments about this book. I'm very bummed. I'm getting rid of it because looking at it genuinely saddens me. I still need to remove all of my annotations. Oh, and my bookmark apparently. Continuing right on with that, Legends and Lattes by Travis Baldree. Again, this is another one that I am not getting rid of for a negative reason. Even though it was not a new favorite of mine, I actually annotated it for a friend, so I'm giving it to her. I'm not getting rid of this because I didn't like it, but I am getting rid of it. This one probably surprises y'all. Gideon the Ninth by Tamsin Muir, specifically my paperback copy. I annotated the crap out of this when I was reading it. And so my friends and I, who all really enjoy this series, well, excuse me, backtrack. Molly, who loves this series, and then Allie, who could appreciate the series for how it is written. The three of us are going to pass this around. So I think I'm going to be sending this to Molly in order for her to be able to see my annotations and also reread it. So I do still have a copy of this. I just have my beautiful first edition with the black sprayed edges and the art piece and Tamsin Muir's signature. So another one that I'm not getting rid of for bad reason. Then The Girls by Emma Cline. Another one that I am unfortunately very sad about because I had this on my shelves for quite a while. I'd been wanting to read this book for some time, and I finally got to it, and it just was doing nothing for me. Though this is sold as a fictitious retelling of the Manson family murders, it was really boring. Instead, it just sort of felt like we were watching this 14-year-old live her life in the 60s, and she ends up getting involved in this group of people who aren't great people, but then she actively tells us at one point she wasn't involved in any of the murders, so it's kind of like, you sort of just lost me right there. I mean, I'm interested in this book because of the cult aspect of it, but she's not really a member of the cult, or at least she wasn't by the time I DNF'd it. Yeah, this is a shame. Another one that I am very sad about, 9 Liars by Maureen Johnson. This is the newest book in her Stevie Bell Mysteries series, and I did not enjoy it. I thought the mystery was predictable as well as quite thin, and then all of the interpersonal drama that was taking place between Stevie, her boyfriend, Stevie, her friends, all of that, just, it all felt so unnecessary. This actively annoyed me most of the time. So I'm gonna be getting rid of this one because this is a standalone in comparison to like the Truly Devious series. I am still on the fence as to whether or not I am going to read the next installment in this series, because on one hand, I want to love this series so much. I really enjoy the first few books, but this was not it. And if this is the direction it's going to continue, I'm not interested. Finally, Inkblood Sister Scribe by Emma Torres. I randomly picked this up and unfortunately this is another example of the fact that I have to care about characters in order to enjoy a story, and when I feel absolutely nothing for them, it's really hard for me to get invested. And then I could pretty much see exactly where the plot was going. This just wasn't working for me. I put it down, looked it up, and I was right about the plot. This is another one I'm getting rid of, which is a shame because it's so pretty. All right, so that is it for the unhaul portion. Now into the haul, which I guess let's start with the shorter stack. Yeah, these aren't in any particular order, really. I kind of just made it so that I could stack them for this adorable shot. I'll walk you through how I picked these books up because, good Lord, this is a really big haul. So first up is Agatha Christie's And Then There Were None. I picked this up from a little free library, which I actually have a vlog of, so I'll put a link to that in the cards. Definitely check it out. Do I have to give you a synopsis for this story? It's the classic murder mystery. I believe 10 people are invited to an island, and slowly, one by one, they are killed off. I have been meaning to get around to Agatha Christie's work for some time now, and I'm finally gonna do that with this one, hopefully. Then Spy Family Volume 3 by Tetsuya Endo. I'm literally wearing my Anya shirt right now. Had to pick this one up because I wanted to continue the series. I mean, technically, I actually checked it out from my library, read it, and then almost immediately after bought it because I got a bingo on my book buying band bingo board. So many bees. No, why is there an ad? Next up is Volume 5, Volume 6, and Volume 7 of Soul Eater by 𝗖cie his𝘁ှ, another manga series that I'm wanting to continue. I have since read the 5th one and adored it, particularly because we got a lot of exposition around the villain. We're really diving into some serious action now. And I know that this part of the story is probably going to stretch at least through this next one, possibly through the 7th. Maybe not, because the characters that are on the front are introduced after that fight ends. I adore the anime, and I've been working my way through the manga and enjoying it just as much. Technically, this next one, Mayfly by CJ Lead, was a present from Josh. Really, he was very kind and he bought me a few books after I had a bad day, but one of them I already owned, so I exchanged it out for this one. This was sold to me as American Psycho, but it's a woman, and I believe she works at like the equivalent of Disney World as whatever their Elsa is, and that's just such an interesting setup. Jan Agaton loved this. I think she said it's like up there for one of her all-time favorite books of the year, so I'm very excited to get into it. Wow, I am losing my voice. He also bought me Horror Store by Grady Hendrix. This is so cool. It's actually done like a IKEA catalog. It's basically a bunch of people working at this rip-off IKEA end up having to stay the night to try and see who is vandalizing the store and causing all of this damage to the merchandise. I recently read this one. I think the vlog where I read it should be out, so I'll put a link to that in the cards. I really enjoyed this. It's like a B-rated horror movie, and I mean that in the best way possible. Like B-rated horror movie meets Superstore. And I had a great time. Another one I grabbed from that little free library vlog was 2 Parts Sugar, 1 Part Murder by Valerie Burns. I continue to try and be a cozy girl. I don't know if it's going particularly well, but I'm trying. This one is following a girl who ends up moving back to small town in Michigan after inheriting her great aunt's bakery and a 250-pound English Mastiff named Baby. Good Lord, that is a big dog. So yeah, I'm intrigued to try this one out. I think I've only heard like one person talk about this and they had positive things to say. So here's hoping I will like it. I'm determined to maybe find a cozy mystery series that I enjoy. Next was one I actually got from my grandma, The Feather Thief, Beauty, Obsession, and the Natural History Heist of the Century by Kirk Wallace Johnson. I originally heard about this from Lana X Libris' channel, and she enjoyed it. It's like a nonfiction heist story in which these people stole rare bird feathers. Interestingly enough, I actually bought this for my grandma because I thought it would be something interesting that she and I could both read. She was not a big fan and ended up giving it back to me pretty quickly after. So here's hoping that I will enjoy it, maybe for Nonfiction November. The next two I bought when I got bingos for my bingo board thingy. Such Sharp Teeth and The Return by Rachel Harrison. This was because I had seen a resurgence of cackle on booktube lately, unsurprisingly because it's spooky time. And also her newest book, Black Sheep, just recently came out, reinvigorated me to pick up her backlist because I love cackle so much. I've heard positive things about Such Sharp Teeth and The Return as well. I think this one is like following a group of friends after one of them has mysteriously disappeared. And this one is following a woman as she slowly turns into a werewolf. I think cozy horror is kind of like the go-to genre description for her stuff, and so I'm excited to get more of that. OMG, there's a little sticker. I didn't see that before. And it matches perfectly. I love it. Next, another one for a book buying bingo thing. Woman Eating by Claire Coda. This is following, I believe, a biracial woman who is also a vampire. Yes, but she also desperately wants to eat human food. Like, she is fascinated by human food. I always mix this one and A Certain Hunger. I always mix these two up because they have very beautiful covers that I think are actually based on real paintings. And then they both have female rage energy about eating people. This one because she's a vampire. I think the other one, she is actually a cannibal. I found this at Half Price Books and I could not resist, had to pick it up. On that same trip, I grabbed Boyfriend Material by Alexis Hall. I've heard a million people say positive things about this and I've been wanting to read it for forever. I actually saw it on sale and decided I'll finally grab it. I believe this is actually a series now, and I think the second book has come out, but I don't know if the third one has. There's an ad going on behind me, isn't there? Yeah, there is. Okay, so these next two I actually stole from my dad. Whenever I unhauled some books, he tossed some in with mine to go to Half Price, and I was like, I mean, I'd be interested in these, so I stole them. First up, American Sherlock, Murder Forensics, and the Birth of American CSI by Kate Winkler Dawson. Apart from the title and the subtitle, I don't know anything else, but I'm intrigued. My dad said this one was pretty good. I'll get to it eventually. And then this one, The Invention of Murder, How the Victorians Reveled in Death Detection and Created Modern Crime by Judith Flanders. This one I'm a little bit more hesitant about because she's a chunky lady. She's a big girl. And whilst I am intrigued, this also seems like it is the kind of book that is probably going to be a bit dry and slow. Josh just got home. Wow, there are gonna be so many interruptions in this video.
Well, hi.
Hi. Watch my laptop. Really? Oh my God. Bend your legs. All right, on to this next giant pile. So first up, we have the Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit, which my mom grabbed me, I think at like an antique store, but I've never seen these editions before and they're very pretty. So I was like, you know what, sure. And once I officially named my cat after a character, I realized I should probably read these at some point. Is it gonna be anytime soon? Unlikely. You can also tell how old they are because look at those yellowed pages. But yeah, I've never seen these before. Chances are I might make this a goal to read next year. That's currently my plan. Next up is Wolfsong by TJ Klune. Josh and I made the mistake of going into Barnes & Noble one day and I couldn't pass it up. It's just so pretty. I'd been meaning to go buy this for quite some time now because especially the Barnes & Noble exclusive edition has these stunning end pages, and then the Statue of the Wolf, which if you've read it, you understand the importance of it. I am also slightly intrigued to reread this and see if there are any changes to the story from the original, if there's been any alterations. I'm not really sure. I am going to have two copies because that one has been signed by TJ Klune, but this one is just absolutely gorgeous and the whole series is getting re-released with these new covers, so I had to buy it. Speaking of Samwise. Next up, I grabbed this baby from my library's shelf. The shelf in which the books are out of commission. You can donate as much money as you want in order to take one. And this is the fifth in the series, the Winston Brothers series, if you're unaware, even though I've talked about it so much on my channel. Dr. Strangebeard is following the youngest Winston boy, oh my God, Roscoe, right? because he is a giant puppy dog. And his romance with his childhood best friend Simone. This one also is a romance suspense novel because Simone, turns out, is a CIA agent, and Roscoe is unaware of this. Continues my Winston Brothers collection. All right, next, The Only One Left by Riley Sager, which I decided to pick up from Book of the Month because I had heard fair amount of positive things about this. I initially had kind of figured I'd written off Riley Sager after 2 books that I really didn't enjoy. I wasn't gonna try again, but when I heard so many positive things, it intrigued me. I am very hopeful I will get to this month. Maybe, we'll see. I believe we are following a woman who is currently in need of immediate care, and in the town she lives in, it's rumored that she killed her entire family, but now she can't actually speak. She can utilize a keyboard though, and she starts to confess the events of what took place that night to her new at-home care aide. I've heard it's very gothic and very slow moving, but it's got all the crazy twists at the end like Sager tends to do, so as I mentioned, hopefully I'll pick it up sometime this month. Oh my god, there's another ad. Next. The final book I got in that little free library vlog is this Epic Tales Greek Myths and Tales edition. It's stunning, it's beautiful. I still can't believe I got this for free. Will I ever officially sit down and read all of this? I'm not sure, but I definitely could like flip through it at times, especially because there are a lot of things I immediately recognize when I just kind of thumb through, which I'm very impressed with myself about. But this is probably like the best book I've ever found at a little free library. Another book of the month I grabbed was Vampires of El Norte by Isabel Cañas, and I adored this. I have a full review video coming out here soon, so I'll put a link to that in the cards whenever it is out. Definitely recommend go in expecting a historical romance with horrific elements rather than a horror story. The main focus is on the characters, and the mutual pining that goes on between them is phenomenal. It is so good. I have a ton of annotations in this. I ate this book up. Another one I grabbed from my dad was Home Before Dark by Riley Sager. I actually bought this one for him. He read it and enjoyed it, but probably wasn't gonna reread it again. However, this is one of Sager's books that I really liked, so I'm okay with adding it to my shelves because perhaps I might reread it at some point, or at the very least force Josh to because I think he would like it. Then, Spells for Forgetting by Adrienne Young. All I know about this is that it's like a fantastical mystery. My friend Allie read it and she liked it, I think, and was kind enough to send it to me, so I wasn't gonna say no to a free book. I wasn't the biggest fan of Adrienne Young's YA work that I read, but I think this is technically adult, so I'm intrigued to see how her writing style changes. This last section, I believe, yes, are all books that I actually bought from a friend of a friend. So first we have Killers of a Certain Age by Deanna Raybourn. I think this is following some older women who were all like assassins or worked for the CIA or something when they were younger, now get like pulled back into the scene even though they're like over 50. This definitely reminds me of like an all-female version of the movie Red, which I love that movie, so I'm all over this. I'm excited to pick it up at some point. Then I got my first Jennifer Hillier, Things We Do in the Dark. This one is following a woman who comes to one morning and is covered in blood, her husband dead in the bathtub, with the police telling her to drop the knife. At the same time, we are also following a podcaster who is investigating the mysterious death of his college friend because her abusive mother is about to get out of prison, and he wants to show the world what kind of a woman she really is. I read this. It was fine. If I'm being completely honest, this is actually going to be in the unhaul section also. Then Razorblade Tears by 𝗖cie Ich𝗁𝗰𝘁. I've heard a million positive things about this one, so when she offered it, I had to grab it. I think this is following two fathers whose children were in a relationship, but both of them were homophobic and treated their sons very poorly. After both of their sons are killed in what seems to be a hate crime, they team up to try and find the person responsible and take them down. I think that's what this is about. As I said, I've heard a million positive things and I definitely want to get around to it. Then that's what the name of the series is. An Elements of Cadence series by Rebecca Ross, which is A River Enchanted and A Fire Endless. After I read Divine Rivals and absolutely loved it, of course I had to get my hands on this one. No, I bought this prior to Divine Rivals, didn't I? One way or another, I've heard a lot of positive things about this series as well, that the writing is absolutely beautiful, and after seeing that for myself in Divine Rivals, I'm more excited to dive into these. They're another fantastical mystery sort of one. Girls are going missing from the island, and the future clan leader believes that Jack is the only one who can find them. Jack being a bard. I think musical magic is like an important element of the story. I don't want to know too much, but I'm excited. And then the final one, The Boy in the Red Dress by Kristen Lambert, which I picked up because it seems like this is a queer historical mystery. That's kind of all I needed to know. I tend to really like those three elements together. I know it has a setting of New Orleans and speakeasies, so all that's buzzwords for me, and I'm very excited to get around to this. I don't think I've actually ever heard anybody talk about this one, so I'm intrigued to see how I like it. Okay, that is so many books. I have a hard time resisting a sale. That's why I'm doing the book buying bingo, and I have now made a new rule for myself on those bingos that I can only count books I own physically. I cannot count library books. Hopefully that'll help me work on this. At the very least, I guess there's the positive that a fair amount of these books I've already read or intend to read here shortly. We'll see if that actually happens. All right, so that is it for today, y'all. Thank you so much for coming to my channel. I really appreciate it. Make sure to hit like and subscribe down below. I have all my socials as well as a few ways you can support me linked in the description. I come out with videos on Monday and Friday, but until then, I hope you continue to have a terrific day. Love you, bye!